Welcome back, everyone, and thanks for joining us for another Terror and Urban Myths. Don't forget to subscribe and give us a like if you're enjoying the show. It really does help us out. Tonight, we're stepping into the shadows, into those realms of the unexplained, the things that make you question everything you thought you knew.
We're talking about stories that send shivers down your spine, those encounters with the unknown that leave you questioning your own senses. And tonight, we're going to delve into one of the most enduring and unsettling mysteries, the mysterious light.
A phenomenon that's been reported for centuries, appearing in different cultures, different times, yet always carrying with it that sense of dread, a feeling of something truly uncanny at work.
And what's so fascinating is how this light isn't just a visual experience. It often comes with a range of unsettling sensations, a sense of being watched, a feeling of something malevolent lurking just beyond our perception.
Okay, let's unpack this. I think the best place to start is with a scenario that really gets to the heart of what makes these encounters so terrifying. Imagine yourself in a darkened room, asleep, when suddenly a piercing red light floods the space. It's hovering, pulsating like a malevolent eye observing you from the darkness.
That image, that sudden intrusion of an unexplained red light, it really taps into some deep-seated fears, doesn't it? The color red itself is so powerful, so evocative. Across cultures, it's associated with danger, warning, even blood.
It's interesting you say that because it makes me think about how we're wired to react to certain colors. Like, are we instinctively afraid of red, or is it something we've learned to associate with danger over time?
Well, there's actually some scientific evidence to suggest that our reaction to red might be hardwired. Studies have shown that seeing red can trigger a faster heart rate and a heightened sense of alertness. It's like our bodies are primed to see it as a threat.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
It's like our ancient ancestors seeing blood or fire learned to associate red with danger. And somehow that's been passed down to us on a biological level.
Exactly. And when you combine that primal fear with the mystery of an unexplained light source, you've got a recipe for a truly terrifying experience.
Absolutely. And it's not just the color, it's the feeling of vulnerability, of being watched by something unseen. I mean, if you were in that situation, wouldn't you immediately feel like you were in danger? Like something was about to happen?
Of course. It taps into that primal fear of the unknown, the predator in the darkness. And even if light disappears, that feeling of being watched can linger, leaving you with a deep sense of unease.
That's what I find so chilling about these stories, that even after the encounter is over, the fear remains. It's like something has been imprinted on your psyche, a reminder that there are forces out there we don't understand.
And that feeling of being watched, it's not just limited to encounters with strange lights. It's a recurring theme in many stories of the unexplained.
You're right. It's like it's a key characteristic of these encounters, something that sets them apart from ordinary experiences. I remember reading a story about a woman driving alone at night, and she suddenly felt a presence in the car with her, even though she could see her own reflection in the rearview mirror.
That's a classic example, and it really makes you wonder, is it all in our heads? Or is there something more to it? Is there a scientific explanation for why we sometimes feel watched, even when we're demonstrably alone?
That's a great question. I mean, some people might say it's just our imagination playing tricks on us, or maybe even a form of paranoia. But there are so many stories like this, it makes you think there might be something more going on.
Well, science has certainly explored this phenomenon. Some researchers believe it's linked to our brain's ability to detect subtle changes in our environment, even those below our conscious awareness. Others suggest it's tied to anxiety or even a heightened sense of self-awareness. But even with these explanations, there's still a certain mystery to it, isn't there? That feeling of being observed. It's so primal, so visceral.
It really is.
Yeah.
And what's even more unsettling is when that feeling of being watched is combined with other strange phenomena like unusual sounds.
Absolutely. Sound plays a powerful role in these stories. Sometimes it's the absence of sound, the eerie silence that makes things even creepier.
It's like the world itself is holding its breath, waiting for something to happen.
Exactly. And then there are the sounds that draw us in, lure us towards danger. Like the story where people kept hearing a strange ribbit sound coming from a lake, and they felt compelled to go towards it, even though they knew it might be dangerous.
That's so eerie. I mean, what is it about certain sounds that can trigger such a powerful response in us? Is there something about the way our brains process sound that makes us more susceptible to these kinds of manipulations?
That's a fascinating question. There is definitely a connection between sound and fear. Think about the screech of an owl in the dead of night, or the low rumble of an approaching storm. These are sounds that have been hardwired into our brains over millennia to signal potential danger.
It's like those sounds bypass our rational mind. and go straight to our primal instincts, triggering a fear response before we even have time to think about it. And when you combine that with the feeling of being watched, it creates a sense of dread that's almost unbearable.
Precisely. It's like a perfect storm of sensory input designed to trigger our deepest fears and leave us feeling utterly vulnerable.
And what's so interesting is that these sounds can be so diverse. It's not just about loud noises or screams. It can be something as simple as a whisper, a rustle in the leaves, or even, as you said, that eerie silence.
It's true. It's almost as if the sound itself is less important than the context in which we hear it. Our brains are constantly scanning for threats, and when we hear something out of place, our imaginations run wild, filling in the blanks with our deepest fears.
So we've got this unexplained light, this feeling of being watched, and these unsettling sounds. It's almost like these elements are working together to create a truly terrifying experience.
And you know what makes it even more complex is that the mysterious light doesn't always appear in the same form.
That's right. It's not always a simple orb of light. It can manifest in so many different ways, which makes it even harder to pin down, to understand.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just a single entity, but a phenomenon that takes on different shapes, different forms, depending on the circumstances.
We've got stories of pulsating orbs, strange lights in the sky, even creatures made of darkness. It's almost as if the mysterious light is adapting, evolving, taking on the form that will be most unsettling to the person experiencing it.
And that brings us to a crucial question. Are all of these manifestations connected? Is there a single source behind the mysterious light, or are we dealing with multiple phenomena that we're mistakenly grouping together?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's one that I think we'll be grappling with for a long time to come. But before we get too deep into that, I want to bring this back to our listeners for a moment. Why should they care about these stories? What's the relevance of all this talk of mysterious lights and uncanny phenomena?
That's a great point. These stories, as chilling as they are, aren't just meant to entertain or frighten. They serve a deeper purpose. They remind us that there are limits to our understanding, that the world is still full of mysteries that science can't fully explain. They challenge us to question our assumptions, to confront the unknown, to acknowledge that there may be forces at play that we can't see or comprehend.
And on a personal level, I think they can help us make sense of our own experiences. I mean, how many of us have seen something strange in the sky or felt a sudden chill down our spines for no apparent reason? These stories give us a framework for understanding those fleeting moments of unease, a language for talking about the things that go bump in the night.
Exactly. They remind us that we're not alone in our experiences, that countless others have encountered the unexplained and the uncanny throughout human history. And by sharing these stories, by exploring the boundaries of our knowledge, we can perhaps inch closer to understanding the true nature of the mysterious light and its place in our world.
Well, I think that's a great place to pause for now.
Indeed. We've covered a lot of ground, but there's still so much more to explore.
We'll be back after a quick break to delve even deeper into the mysteries of the mysterious light. Don't go anywhere. And don't forget to subscribe to Terror and Urban Myths and give us a like if you enjoyed the show. We really appreciate your support.
Welcome back to Terror and Urban Myths.
Now, before the break, we were talking about the many forms the mysterious light can take. It's not always just a simple orb or a strange glow in the sky. Sometimes it manifests as something far more tangible.
Yes, and these cases where the mysterious light seems to take on a physical presence are some of the most intriguing and unsettling. We're talking about reports of shadow figures, creatures made of darkness, even entities that seem to reach out and interact with the physical world.
It's like it crosses a line, doesn't it? From something that's just visually disturbing to something that feels truly threatening.
Exactly. There's a sense of violation, a breach of our personal space. It's one thing to see a strange light in the distance, but quite another to have something seemingly made of darkness reach out and grab your hand.
There was a story in one of the listener submissions that really stuck with me. A group of hikers were exploring a cave when they suddenly felt a cold, clammy hand grasp their arms, pulling them deeper into the darkness. They couldn't see anything, but the feeling was so real, so visceral, that they were convinced something was there with them.
That's a classic example of how these encounters can tap into our most primal fears. The darkness of the cave, the feeling of being touched by something unseen, it all combines to create a sense of utter helplessness and terror. And these feelings are often heightened when the encounters occur in places that are already associated with fear or the unknown.
Like graveyards, abandoned buildings, or even just deep forests, places where our imaginations can run wild and where we feel more vulnerable.
Exactly. And it's in these environments that the stories of mysterious light often take on a more sinister tone.
We hear tales of shadow people lurking in the corners of our vision, creatures made of darkness that seem to feed off our fear. And then there are the stories of entities that seem to be something more, not just shadows or creatures, but beings with a kind of malevolent intelligence.
That's right. And those are the stories that really challenge our understanding of the world. We're talking about reports of encounters with beings that seem to defy the laws of physics, that can appear and disappear at will, that seem to know our thoughts and fears.
I think that's what really fascinates me about the mysterious light. It's this idea that there might be something out there that we can't explain, something that operates outside the bounds of our current understanding. It's both terrifying and exhilarating at the same time.
Absolutely. And it's that combination of fear and fascination that keeps us coming back to these stories, that keeps us searching for answers. But as we delve deeper into this mystery, we have to be careful not to let our imaginations run too wild.
You're right. It's easy to get caught up in the sensationalism, to jump to conclusions. We have to approach these stories with a healthy dose of skepticism. Just because something is unexplained doesn't automatically mean it's supernatural.
Exactly. There might be perfectly rational explanations for some of these encounters, misidentified natural phenomena, tricks of the light, or even just our own brains misinterpreting sensory information. But then there are those cases that defy easy explanation, the stories that leave us with more questions than answers.
And those are the stories that really challenge us, aren't they? The ones that force us to confront the limits of our knowledge and the possibility that there might be more to reality than we currently understand.
Exactly. And it's in those moments when we confront the truly unknown that we can glimpse the true power and mystery of the mysterious light. But exploring these mysteries, trying to make sense of the seemingly unexplainable, requires us to look at the phenomenon from different angles. We've talked about the visual aspects, the feeling of being watched, the unsettling sounds, and the physical manifestations. But there's another layer to this that's often overlooked, and that's the psychological impact.
That's a great point. We've touched on it a bit throughout the episode, but I think it's worth exploring further. I mean, these encounters can have a profound impact on the people who experience them, can't they?
Absolutely. We're talking about experiences that can shake people to their core, challenge their beliefs, and leave them with lingering anxieties and fears. In some cases, people report feeling haunted by these encounters long after they've happened.
It's almost like they've been marked by the experience, like something has changed within them. They see the world differently. They're more aware of the shadows, more sensitive to the unexplained.
And I think that's an important point to make. These encounters, whether they have a rational explanation or not, can have a real and lasting impact on people's lives.
It's not just about the event itself, but about the way it changes our perception of the world and ourselves.
Yeah.
And, I think that's something that's often overlooked in discussions of the paranormal. We tend to focus on the evidence, the proof, but we forget about the human element, the way these experiences shape the people who have them.
That's a crucial aspect of this whole phenomenon, the human element. It's about understanding how these encounters affect us on a psychological level, how they tap into our fears, our beliefs, and our deepest anxieties.
And I think that's where the real mystery lies. It's not just about figuring out what the mysterious light is, but about understanding why it has such a powerful hold on our imaginations. Why does it continue to fascinate and terrify us, even in the face of skepticism and scientific inquiry?
Those are questions we'll continue to explore as we delve deeper into the mysteries of the mysterious light. But I think it's important to remember that there may not be any easy answers. We're dealing with a phenomenon that lies at the very edge of our understanding, a realm where science and folklore collide, and where the line between reality and imagination can become blurred.
And that's what makes it so captivating, isn't it? The fact that we can't fully explain it, that it challenges our assumptions about the world. It's a reminder that there are still mysteries out there, still things that we don't understand. I think that's a good thing.
I agree. It's a reminder that we shouldn't take our reality for granted, that there's always more to learn, more to explore, and who knows, maybe in the process of trying to understand the mysterious light, we'll discover something even more profound about ourselves and the universe we inhabit.
Well, I think that's a great note to wrap up this part of our discussion. We've covered a lot of ground tonight, exploring the many facets of the mysterious light, from its visual appearances to its psychological effects.
And we've only just scratched the surface. There's still so much more to explore. So many more stories to uncover.
We'll be back after a short break to delve into some of the theories and explanations that have been put forward to try and make sense of this enduring enigma. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Terror and Urban Myths. So we've talked about what the mysterious light is, how it shows up, the feelings it brings up, but what about the why? What are some of the theories people have come up with to explain all of this?
Well, there's no shortage of theories out there, that's for sure. Some are more grounded in science, others dive right into the paranormal. It's really a mix, and I think that's part of what keeps this topic so fascinating.
Yeah, let's start with the sciencey side of things. Are there any natural events that could be mistaken for the mysterious light?
Oh, definitely. Things like ball lightning, for example. It's
Yeah.
pretty rare and not fully understood, but it creates these glowing spheres of plasma that can move all over the place, and sometimes they even explode. It's definitely something that would freak someone out if they saw it out of nowhere.
I can see how seeing something like that in the dark would be unsettling. What about swamp gas? Or St. Elmo's fire? I've heard those brought up when talking about the mysterious light, too.
Right. Swamp gas, which is basically methane from decomposing stuff,
Yeah.
can catch fire and create flickering lights that could be mistaken for something spooky. And St. Elmo's fire is this bright plasma discharge that can happen around pointy things like ship masts or even tree branches during thunderstorms. It's pretty cool looking, actually, but I can see how it could be scary if you didn't know what it was.
Okay, so we've got a few natural explanations that could make sense for some sightings. But what about the ones that don't fit into those categories? The ones that seem to be more intelligent or on purpose?
Well, that's where things get more interesting. Some researchers have thought that the mysterious light could be a sign of aliens.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely a popular one. I mean, the idea of weird lights in the sky has been connected to USOs forever.
Exactly. And there are definitely reports where people have seen lights moving in ways that normal aircraft can't. But of course, the problem with this theory, like any theory with the paranormal, is proving it.
True. It's hard to get solid proof that holds up to science. And even if we could prove that something weird was going on, it doesn't automatically mean it's aliens.
Right.
There could be explanations we haven't even thought of yet.
You got it. And that's the cool thing about this whole mystery. It makes us keep an open mind to look at all the possibilities, no matter how strange or far out they might sound.
Okay, so we've got natural explanations. We've got aliens.
Mm.
What else is out there? What about the more paranormal stuff?
Well, in some cultures, the mysterious light is linked to spirits or supernatural beings.
I've heard stories about lights that are supposed to be the souls of people who have died, or even things trying to talk to us.
Right. And those beliefs often tie into the folklore and myths of a specific place or culture. For example, in some Native American traditions, they have stories about spirit lights that are said to guide travelers or give warnings about danger.
It's so interesting how these beliefs are different all over the world. It seems like every culture has their own take on the mysterious light and what it means.
And I think that shows us something really important about this phenomenon. It speaks to something deep inside us, a sense of wonder and awe about the unknown, a fascination with the mysteries that are just beyond what we can grasp.
It's like a blank canvas that we put our hopes and fears on, our ideas about what's real.
Exactly. And maybe that's why it's so hard to really define, to explain for sure. It reflects us, our own individual and shared minds.
So where does all that leave us? We've got all sorts of theories, from scientific ones to supernatural ones, but no definite answers. Does that mean we'll never really understand the mysterious light?
I don't think so. I think we just got to keep an open mind, keep asking questions, and keep searching for clues. Science is always changing, and maybe one day we'll have what we need to finally figure this thing out.
But even if we never totally get it, I think there's value in trying. I mean, it makes us face the limits of what we know, to realize that there are still mysteries out there, and to just accept the wonder and the not knowing.
For sure. And it reminds us that the world is a much weirder and more amazing place than we usually think it is.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this episode of Terror and Urban Myths. We've gone deep into the mysterious light, looking at how it appears, what might explain it, and its power to freak us out and make us curious. We want to thank you for coming along with us on this chilling journey. Don't forget to subscribe to Terror and Urban Myths and give us a like if you enjoyed the show. Until next time, keep your eyes on the skies, your ears open to the whispers in the night, and your minds open to the things that might be just out of sight.